Friends, welcome back. In this video, we are going to talk exclusively about the central nervous system, particularly the brain. So the central nervous system, comprises of brain and spinal cord. So it comprises of both brain and spinal cord. So this central nervous system is the main site of control and the information processing. So what all the activities which are performed by us, whether by knowing or without knowing, all these activities are performed or are under the control of brain and spinal cord. So if we talk about the major functions, voluntary movements, it means your movement of hands, legs, eyes. So all these are called voluntary movements which we want to do. Okay. And there are some other movements called involuntary movements which are not under our control. Like as I told in my earlier video, movement of uh, movement of food in the alimentary canal or blinking of eyes. So all these are the involuntary movements which are not under our control. So balance of the body. So we are able to walk. We are able to run the bicycle. We are able to run the motorcycle because we are able to balance our body, whether you are walking or you are riding a bicycle or running on a motorcycle, whatever it is, you are able to balance the body. That is also under the control of the central nervous system. And function of vital involuntary organs, all the involuntary organs, or which are like all involuntary actions, are also under the control of the central nervous system. Thermoregulation, maintaining the body temperature. So the normal body temperature is actually maintained. It is tried to maintain. Okay, that is called thermoregulation. So hunger and thirst. You are able to feel the hungriness or the thirst, like drying of your mouth because of the central nervous system. Circadian rhythms. It means the 24 hours cycle. It means like whenever the night comes, like whenever the moon appears, we tend to sleep. And whenever the sun rises, we wake up. So this is called circadian rhythms. So our body will get adjusted with the nature. Okay. So the processing of vision, speech, memory, intelligence, emotions, and thoughts. It's like now you are able to listen to me and you are able to watch. Okay, you are connecting both the information. So this is all possible because of the brain. And controlling endocrine glands. As discussed in previous videos, the controlling system is the endocrine glands. Endocrine system is another control system. Like it is also under the control of the brain again. So human behavior, so how we behave with people, so all such aspects are all under the control of central nervous system. Okay, so this is a little introduction now, but in coming slides we will discuss in more detail. So as we are talking, this is the system which controls. Suppose as discussed in previous video, teacher is the one who controls the classroom. If teacher is absent in the classroom, then what happens? Students will make a mess. Some people will shout, some people will dance. Okay, some people will throw chalk onto the girls, right? There are some boys who does these things. Right? So all this mess will happen in the classroom. So like teacher is the one who should be in the class, who should control as well as protect the class from doing such happening such things. So in the same way, when brain is the most important organ of our body, like brain and spinal cord, as they are the most important organs of our body, they has to be protected. So how they are protected? If you see the brain, it is in the head. So the head contains a skull, which is a bony case. So complete brain is covered by a bony case. that is called as skull. Okay, so in higher classes you will learn about this the bones, different bones which are present in the skull, but as of now this is a bony case called skull, and that is protecting the brain. So inside the skull, the brain is covered by cranial meninges. So inside the skull, the brain is covered by cranial meninges. So the outer layer is called dura mater, the middle layer is called arachnoid matter, and the inner layer is called pia mater. So all these three layers, they will protect the brain from heavy shock or blows. Suppose if there is a sudden blow, someone has thrown a stone onto your head, so what happens then? These meninges will try to, the skull as well as these meninges will try to protect your brain from the injury. Okay, so the spinal cord, the second most important one organ is the spinal cord. So this spinal cord is protected by a vertebral column. So this spinal cord is protected by a vertebral column. So in higher classes, you will be studying in more detail about the vertebral column as well as the brain. But keeping in mind the CBSE board and the NCERT syllabus, we are restricting these things to this point only. So coming to the brain. So brain is divided into three parts: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. So forebrain is also called as prosencephalon, midbrain is called mesencephalon, and the hindbrain is called rhombencephalon. So this forebrain, it contains cerebrum. Okay, so the part of the forebrain is called cerebrum. So this cerebrum is divided into two parts again, telencephalon and diencephalon. So this telencephalon, it contains the cerebral cortex, whereas the diencephalon constitutes thalamus, hypothalamus, and pineal gland. Okay, cerebrum contains the cerebral cortex. Or this cerebrum, there is a one more division also for the cerebrum. So this is the largest part of the brain, and this cerebrum is also divided into right hemisphere and left hemisphere. It means right part of the brain and left part of the brain. So the right part of the brain, it will control, right hemisphere control left side of the body, whereas the left hemisphere control, this will control right side of the body. Okay, this cerebrum, there is one more classification. It is divided into two hemispheres, right hemisphere and left hemisphere. So right hemisphere controls left side of the body, left hemisphere controls right side of the body. Okay, suppose if they give a question, a person's left side of the body has been paralyzed, which hemisphere has been damaged? If left side of the body is paralyzed, it means right hemisphere has been damaged. There is some a shock or some trauma happened to the right part of the right hemisphere. Okay, so this is one classification. So coming to the classification shown here, this cerebrum, this right hemisphere and left hemisphere, they are attached to each other by a cerebral cortex. Okay, so that is the cerebral cortex what we are discussing here. Okay, so this cerebral cortex, it has divided into five regions. Okay, it is divided into four regions: frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital. Okay, the frontal, let us come from the back. So remember these names. Cerebrum is divided into telencephalon and diencephalon. Telencephalon contains the cerebral cortex. It is divided into four parts: frontal lobe, four lobes. Okay, actually, this we should call, actually write them as lobes: frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe, and occipital lobe. It is nothing but the regions of this right hemisphere and left hemisphere. Okay, So this occipital lobe, it is associated with the vision. Okay, all the visual information is processed by the occipital lobe, and the temporal lobe, it is associated with the speech or the sound. Okay, so the language processing, speech recognition, all it is under the control of the temporal lobe. It means this is occipital lobe is associated with the sensory organ eye. This temporal lobe is associated with the sensory organs ears. Okay, whereas the parietal lobe, this is associated with the skin, so it will process the touch. Whereas the frontal lobe, it is the one which is playing the complex role by controlling majority of the activities. So it takes care of the voluntary movements, it takes care of our memory, it takes care of the thinking process and our decision making skills, our planning skills, our management skills, all are under the frontal lobe control. Okay, so this is about the four lobes. So occipital is associated with eyes, temporal is associated with ears, parietal is associated with skin, and the frontal lobe is associated with the majority of the activities that we have discussed. That will decide our abilities or capabilities. Okay. So now let us go back to the diencephalon part. So this diencephalon contains thalamus, hypothalamus, and pineal gland. Okay, so this thalamus, it will control the circadian rhythm, that is sleep and wake up cycle. Whereas this hypothalamus, it is associated with the endocrine system by controlling the pituitary gland. So it will control the endocrine system with the help of this by controlling the pituitary gland. Whereas this pineal gland, this will produce melatonin, so which will take care of the sleep and wake up cycles as well as the sexual development. So this is about forebrain. Coming to the midbrain, so midbrain, it will process the auditory as well as visual information. Apart from that is what the major function of the midbrain. It is called as mesencephalon. So coming to the hindbrain, this is called rhombencephalon. So it is divided into two parts, metencephalon as well as myencephalon. So this metencephalon contains two parts, again divided into two parts. One is cerebrum and another one is pons varoli. So this cerebellum is responsible for the balance of the body as well as the motor control. Okay, so this cerebellum is responsible for balance of the body and motor control, whereas the pons varoli is responsible for sleep as well as arousal, sexual arousal. So myencephalon contains the medulla oblongata, which controls the autonomic nervous system. It means what is autonomic nervous system? The actions which are not under our control, involuntary actions, are controlled by the medulla oblongata or autonomous nervous system. So this is about brain in short and sweet. So try to remember the functions of each and every lobe and every part discussed here. So after listening to the lecture, once or twice, try to make this flowchart without seeing. Okay. So now let us talk about the peripheral nervous system. So it means the execution part. So this peripheral nervous system, it is associated with the central nervous system, and it has two types of nerves based on the information carried by them. Okay, it is classified into two types based on the information carried by them. One is the somatic nervous system and another one is the autonomous nervous system. So the actions which are under our control, that is called somatic nervous system. So it will send signal to the skeletal muscles. It means like movement of our hands and legs, that comes under the somatic nervous system. So this is involuntary action. So this is usually associated with the smooth muscles of the body, that is the blinking of eyes or the muscles which are present in our digestive system. Those are the smooth muscles. the muscles which are present in the heart, those are the cardiac muscles. It's like both, it has smooth muscles, they have both nature of smooth muscles as well as skeletal muscles. Okay, so this is about the peripheral nervous system. So these are the different questions usually asked in the exams. Try to answer on your own, as I say usually. So thank you for watching the video. In the next video, I will be talking about the endocrine system.